Chapter V of A Christmas When the West Was Young, by Cyrus Townsend Brady. This recording is in the public domain. Chapter V. The Ride and the Light. This overwhelming tragedy, fraught with such consequences to this modern Samaritan, had occupied scarcely 10 minutes, yet it had changed the course of life for him. He rode more carefully now, but urged his horse on until he reached that part of the rift where it was necessary to leave it and strike straight across the prairie to his home. On clear days he could distinguish the hill rising above the rolling country. That morning, however, he could see but a few miles ahead. Off to the south, the direction in which he must go, the air was filled with a strange, unearthly whiteness. The wind had momentarily died down, but as he stared ahead he felt a faint puff or two against his face, the air suddenly seemed desperately cold, and scattered flakes fell on the dark fur of his sleeve. He had scarcely time to mark them before the air was filled with snow and the storm broke around him with tremendous force. The word blizzard had not yet been invented, but the thing it signifies is very old. This was such a storm as he had never in all his life experienced. He had time to mark but one thing, that the storm came straight from the point at which he aimed. Landmarks were obliterated as if rubbed out by a mighty hand. The whirling snow beat upon him, the shrieking wind ripped and tore at him, the earth seemed to rock and quiver beneath the feet of the horse. It was as if the man and the beast were fighting a battle against some titanic force. What kept him up was the thought of the terror and anxiety of that woman waiting upon the hill in the very heart of the driving tempest, that and the remembrance of the other little life lying at his breast as he struggled on. He took the nubia of which he had thought so whimsically and wrapped it about his face, covering all of it except his right eye, which he could protect a little if he turned the left side of his face to the wind. He was deeply thankful for that fantastic, foolish scarf before he got through that day. He reasoned at first clearly enough, for the cold had not yet benumbed him. He knew that his direction lay in the teeth of the storm. He put his whole mind, therefore, on forcing the horse into the very jaws of the tempest. Sometimes he would stop and strive to listen and look, but it was impossible. There was nothing to do but plod blindly forward. He had never before used the whip and spur on that brave horse, but now he drove him on, the raw flesh quivering under lash and rowel. He did not spare himself any more than he spared the horse. The cold penetrated to the very bone and dulled the man's senses. He ceased to think or to reason, but because he had so impressed upon his mind a certain purpose, he followed it instinctively, and somewhat of his purpose seemed to be communicated to his horse, for at length he did not strive, as he had at first, to turn his back. He put his head down and plodded slowly on. For how many minutes, for how many hours, the man could not tell. The reins at last fell from his numbed fingers. At the same time the horse stopped. The cessation of the movement aroused the man. By a desperate effort he summoned his will-power back to life. He lifted his head and stared about him. The storm did not beat upon him with quite such terrific force as before. The tempest did not appear to be abating, but it was as if he had found some kind of shelter. He strove to think what it could be. Finally, as if impelled, he lifted his eyes upward. There before him, in the grey darkness of the day, what hour it was he did not know, although he dully perceived that it was growing dark, he saw a light, just a spot of pale yellow radiance in the snow-filled air. Was it a real light? He drew the nubia from his face to see with both eyes. Aye, it was a blurred, wavering glimmer, but it was a light. Could it be a star? A star had led the wise men of old across the world. He remembered vaguely that it was Christmas Day. Yes, that was a light just above him. He must inquire into it. He must see what it was. He must get near to it. He spoke to the horse again, and struck and spurred him. There was no response. The brave animal was done for. He could carry his burden no longer. The man reflected quickly. In spite of the excruciating pain involved in the descent, he managed to slip from the saddle. Still holding the snow-covered bundle closely to his breast, he seized the bridle with his benumbed left hand and staggered forward. The poor horse, relieved of his burden, made a valiant effort to follow, and horse and man stumbled up a gentle ascent. The light grew brighter. It was crossed by bars of some kind. No, it was not a star. It came through a window, the window of a house. What house? He could see the corners of the logs through the snow. Where there was a window, there should be a door. Instinctively he turned toward it, and fell heavily against it and lay there, the bundle close to his breast, the horse's bridle still clutched in his freezing hand. Chapter 6